Hey everybody, Rodney Oth here, Park People Podcast. Today we have a special edition for our CampFest show that's a virtual conference coming up at the end of February. I'm here today with Brian Hill, Project Manager and Operation Consultant for Waters Edge Aquatic Design. His session is on the 5 linchpins of aquatics, and he's going to give us a 30,000-foot overview of why you should attend live and get you excited. So Brian, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Why don't you give us a quick overview of what people can expect from the session?
Yeah, so I love operations. I love talking about pools. I've lived it my whole life, and I just like to share and pass on knowledge. And through my time, I really find that, there's so much that we have to deal with. There's so much stuff that gets, that people get really concerned with about this and the chemicals and the people and the staffing and what do we do here and what do we do there. And I've tried to find a way to kind of boil it down to like, hey, we've got 5 real important things that we need to focus on. These are like the 5 things that if we don't do this part right, or if we do something wrong on here, our facility's not going to open, our facility's going to fail, or it's the things that we really need to put a lot of our energy towards. Now, of course, those 5 things have like a million subcategories under each of them, but it's just a kind of a way to kind of like, let's identify these 5 things that we kind of can focus on and kind of go from there.
Okay. So folks can learn those 5 things, and then you take a little deep dive into each of them, I'm assuming, for a little while, and
Absolutely.
go into the subcategories, right? So at the end of this, at the end result, like if you were going to say a learning objective, right? Like what would folks expect to come away with this as far as like once they understand those 5 key things, how does that make their life better?
So I kind of bullet down this. Like, I really think that the main key objectives that I hope people are going to learn this one is, basically learning what those 5 things are, identifying what those components are for your operation, learning strategies to stay ahead of, especially if like maintenance issues or staffing issues. And then the real big one is, ideas to help create a really staff and the full programming focused of creating safety. Like, safety is part of your culture. Safety is part of, like, it's everything we do. It sounds silly to think about, but it's one of the things that sometimes gets thought. You get all these other stuff, all these other pressures that we sometimes forget about the whole safety aspect. We got to make sure we always make sure that's a factor in as we get things going.
Nice. And we can kind of wrap it up here a little bit. Why don't you give us a little bit about your background? You touched on it a little bit, but tell us about Waters Edge. Tell us how you got to where you're at today, and that little spiel.
Well,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it's like most people in the aquatics world. We get chlorine in our blood at an early age, and it's just kind of like sticks there, and we just can't get rid of it. Was a swimmer, I was pool rat growing up. A little town in Kansas used to pay me under the table to be a lifeguard for their wading pool at the age of 13. I'm not going to call them out because I got $5 an hour at 13 at that age. I mean, that was good money at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I made a $1.43 as a farmhand at age 12. So like you did better than me.
I did. Oh, so I was free labor for my grandparents working on a ranch down in Oklahoma. I was
Yeah.
free labor in the summers all the time. So actually getting paid to be around a pool, that was kind
Yeah.
of a big upgrade for that.
Yeah.
Then just stayed with pools all throughout. I just never could get away from it. It felt like the whole Godfather. Every time I tried to get out of aquatics, I got pulled back in.
Yeah.
Ended up running the aquatics program for the city of Wichita for many years, and we had this huge. We had a lot of older pools, and we had some money coming up to us, and we had to reach out to different groups to do a full master plan of what needs to happen, and do some renovation. And Waters Edge was the group that we had selected and worked with them. Great group of engineers and designers. And one thing I learned quickly is, like, as much as there's good stuff, they didn't have like the operation side of things. They could design these beautiful sites, they had all these
Yeah.
great systems, but they never actually run those pools. And so through all the conversation, we felt a good match, and they offered me a spot, and I crossed over the dark side and left civil service for a little bit. So
Yeah. Yeah. But with that background, right? It is funny, like until you do a job, right? Until you actually do it, right? Uh, you know, I'm a ski
it's different.
patroller, I'm a woodworker, all those things, right? Like, and people can tell me which tools to buy in woodworking, right? And it makes sense, but until you understand how that tool connects to another tool and to a certain joint or whatever, most of it's trial and error, right?
Yeah.
You're but once you have that knowledge, right? holy cow, do you make decisions fast? And they're good decisions, right? They're really good decisions. So I can see why adding you to the team, that's a huge plus. It's a huge positive.
You hit the nail on the head. It's 100%. It's a lot of trial and error, with the pools. Like,
Yeah.
I look back now, I'm an instructor for the Aquatics Facility Operator class for NRPA, and I look back and I tell people, like, the stuff I used to do back then,
Yeah.
man, like, this is why we teach this class. Don't do that.
Right. Right. Let me see if I can shorten your learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, we were doing things, maybe they were dangerous or just, whatever, but you didn't know any better. I mean, and it seemed logical, right? And then as you get down the road of learning, like you are, and like I am in other areas, and you see other people who are just starting, if without any education, they do what's logical, which is what you thought was logical, which is actually dangerous. And it's like, it's such an easy cycle. It's not an easy cycle to break because, nobody does things stupidly on purpose
100%.
most of the time.
Right? Good caveat. Most of the time.
Yeah. So, well, I think I'm looking forward to it, Brian. It's going to be fun. Is there anything else that you want to add before we knock off here? I mean, we're just trying to let people know that they should stop in and say hi.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be exciting. I think there's going to be some good information to share. That's kind of tailored for the different, it's kind of wide enough that it's going to be able to bring in all sorts of different types of operations. It's not just about, one type of typical swimming pool or, outdoor operation. It's going to cover a lot of different stuff that I think there's going to be good knowledge for anybody, to pick up on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Well, awesome. Well, hey, we're going to end there. Anybody who watches this, stop by in February with all of the liner notes. Will have all the dates and where you can register. It's totally free. Brian's a wealth of knowledge. If you give him an hour, give him 45 minutes, he's going to talk for an hour, but if you only give him 45 minutes, and if that's the way you are, that's the way you are. But my guess is if you start for 5, you're going to be in for 60. So, do it. And of course, it's always going to be on demand after that. So lots of opportunities to pick up the knowledge. So see you at CampFest. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.